If you imagine a plugin which combines compression, limiting and saturation, how would that look like? Maybe not like the Newfangled Audio Invigorate. It took me a good 2-3 looks to familiarize me to what is happening on the plugin and how it works, but it does make sense. So this plugin takes compression and saturation in a new direction, mostly by how the interface works. Maybe you're a wat de boer niet kent, vreet hij niet type of person, or maybe you really dig it. This plugin is mostly meant for bus compression, but not limited to that alone. It's hard to miss the big triangle in the plugin. With this radar you can change compression ratio, threshold and saturation. The order in which this plugin works makes total sense. From left to right you start with the amount of compression which increases.
Take a moment and realize.
Which brings you into limiting territory.
For it passes on by. Out of sight.
And when you increase with that you get into saturation and overdrive.
So follow me. Show you places you've never seen.
Guess 3 times what this huge mix dial does. The compensate gain switch is an Autogain. 10 points for adding that. And what is sweet is that you can set this Autogain level yourself or press learn where the plugin will do it for you. One of the better solutions of Autogain I have seen in plugins. Now to set the attack and release settings you need to do that right here. Anti-pump is an adjustable high-pass filter in the sidechain for the compressor and limiter, not the overdrive. On the right are curve settings. You can set gate and expansion, how fierce compression will work, and how compression and saturation behave. Now all of this work in conjunction with whatever you have set in the radar. You really need to play with all these settings to get a feeling of how compression, saturation and limiting work and behave.
Gotta catch it for it passes on by. Out of sight. So follow me. I'll show you places you've never seen. Hold tight, take the lead. More than just a memory.
You made it so far in the video, so please subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on the latest new cool plugins. The EQ section is rather important for the behavior of the entire plugin. The first is the sensitivity and this one is for this sidechain. So you have that dedicated high pass filter and these 3 bands. The input exciter works somewhat in the same way as sensitivity, only it will compress or saturate more or less in the band, depending on what you adjust. It sounds completely different. The output is really an output EQ to add the final touch to the audio. Bit of bass, bit of high frequencies or mid scoop, no problem to do that. At first you might think when changing these bands is that the plugin works rather roughly with the EQ. But although the displays are in 1 decibel steps, the actual changes aren't, they are more refined. Adjusting is pretty easy and pretty global. And you can change the crossover between each of the bands quickly. Changing crossover points actually applies to all 3 EQs at the same time. Invigorate does have a sound. You can see it has a serious high-end roll-off in low oversampling. Changing oversampling changes this roll-off. And let's have a look at harmonics. Many added harmonics starting at the 3rd harmonic. This is quite a dirty plugin and adds a lot to the incoming audio. Changing from compression via limiting into overdrive changes the presence of these harmonics as well. In the beginning I said that this plugin wasn't limited to master bus alone. Here are some examples. Female voice compression.
Gotta catch it before it passes on by. Gotta catch it before it passes on by. Gotta catch it before it passes on by.
Dirtying up Fender Rhodes. drum bus compression, and a filtered telephone voice.
Gotta catch it before it passes on by. Gotta catch it before it passes on by. Gotta catch it before it passes on.
To say that the CPU usage of this plugin is just a bit is a lie. This plugin gobbles CPU cycles on my Windows 11 system like my dog eats her food, especially when you change oversampling. You can check in your own DAW and let me know in the comments which results you get. There's a lot going on with Invigorate, and I think the way how this plugin handles compression, limiting and saturation may not be for everyone. It is worthwhile to spend time with this to get a feel for how everything works and sounds. As the manual of Invigorate states, this isn't your granddad's bus compressor, and I fully agree with that. The Adapter Sculpt is another involved compressor which does compression in a totally different way. Check it out in the video which is displayed on screen and linked in the description below.